Hey, this is me, video camera. I just got my iPod. I just wanted to tell you that I learned a bunch of new stuff on this iPod, and it's like so cool.
So on December 25th, 2009, I was gifted an iPod Nano for Christmas. This iPod Nano was the first piece of technology that I had ever truly owned for myself. The crucial aspect about this iPod is that it had a little video camera in the front. I would document everything on this little iPod Nano. Usually the format of the video would say, "Hi, it's me, today is the date," something that's going on today, whether it be a snow day, whether it be it's Christmas, events like that. I was also a big theater kid. I was in multiple community theater productions. I believe 2010 was the first year I ever saw a YouTube video. It was a You Belong With Me parody, like a zombie parody. I have no idea if it's still up. I didn't have a YouTube account. If I wanted to see anything on YouTube, I had to use my parents' computer. At the time, my favorite creators to watch were Bethany Moda and Zoella. Through these videos, I learned how to do makeup. I learned about fashion trends. There was hair tutorials. I kind of used these videos as a surrogate for an older sister. I was in middle school at this time, so I had absolutely no money. What do you do when you're in middle school and you want makeup products and you have very little money? In my case, if you're me, you learn how to coupon. I still remember the exact makeup products that I purchased when I started using makeup. It was a purple CoverGirl eyeshadow trio and a CoverGirl blush. I was 12 or 13 when I upgraded to my next piece of technology with a video camera. At this point in time, I had a computer and I had a flip video camera. I knew I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I was so young at the time, I begged my parents to let me start a YouTube channel. After years of begging them to let me start a YouTube channel, they finally said yes. At this point, I was a teenager, so I was a little bit older, a little bit more mature. And the first few months of my YouTube channel, I was filming videos with this flip video camera and I was editing them with Windows Movie Maker. I think it's also really important to note here that in 2013, starting a YouTube channel wasn't a cool thing to do. At this point in time, I was also being bullied by my classmates. I would say moderately for my interests in beauty and fashion. I had a subscription to Teen Vogue and 17 magazine. They were the most popular fashion magazines at the time. I used to bring them to school. I got bullied a lot for that. And my YouTube channel gave me an outlet to connect with people who were interested in the same types of things that I was. So I think because of this, you would understand why I decided to attempt to keep this a secret from everyone in my school. So I actually started high school a couple months after I had started posting these videos. What you're seeing right now, this is currently my New York City apartment, but all of these videos were produced and posted in my parents' house. So I'm actually going to be traveling back to my parents' house briefly, and I wanted to use the opportunity to show you the physical location of where I was producing these videos. Okay, so I still vividly remember the very first video I ever posted. I probably should have warmed up my voice before I started speaking. It was a messy bun tutorial. The video was filmed on the flip video camera. A lot of my earlier videos have been privated, but the very first of my videos were deleted, unfortunately. At the time, I didn't think I would want them, but here we are. For the most part, the birth of my YouTube channel occurred in this room. 70% of the clips that I've recorded for my channel have been within this room. I started with makeup and fashion content, but as the years went on and my interests evolved, it became a lot more broad. I think I mostly posted content that was trendy at the time. Room tours, makeup tutorials, hauls. Oh, I did a lot of morning routines. I thought I was recording, but I realized I just wasn't. So that leads me to the main struggles that I dealt with at this time when I was balancing a YouTube channel while I was in high school at the same time. The precautions I took to protect myself in terms of privacy were, one, of course, I was very selective about the locations I would film at, and I was also highly selective about who I would tell about my channel. I didn't start to tell anyone until sophomore year of high school. I told, I think, 5 people. You know, I asked them politely, please don't tell anyone at my school. I don't want to be known as the YouTube girl. I was very shy and quiet in high school, so I kind of just wanted to blend into the background. Another thing that I refrained from for privacy reasons was following any of my friends on social media. Obviously, if I'm following multiple people that went to the same school, it would probably be pretty obvious that I went to that school, or at least a school in that area. I also asked my friends not to follow me on social media. The precautions I took proved to be successful, so I'm pleased with the decision I made at the time, even though it did prevent me from recording a lot of things. Like, I would have liked to have taken clips for prom, for instance. Second main struggle was anything associated with the physical equipment and tools. So as I mentioned, I started out with my flip video camera. Shortly afterwards, I upgraded to my next camera. I believe I got this for Christmas 2013. I think in 2015 or 2016, but I think 2015, I upgraded to my next camera. Again, it was a Christmas gift, and it was the Canon EOS Rebel T3i. It's one of those cameras that has a removable lens. It's a lot bulkier. The quality is significantly better, but it's also significantly less ergonomic, so it really limited me in terms of what kind of content I could make with that. I think if the camera had been less bulky and a little more inconspicuous, I probably would have made more content in public. That is the camera that I used for many, many years. Unfortunately, both that camera and this camera suffered casualties. I think the cost to repair the cameras would have been more than the value of the camera itself, so it didn't really make sense to repair. For editing softwares, I actually upgraded from Windows Movie Maker to Sony Vegas. With Sony Vegas, there were significantly more tools I could use. I've also used iMovie, I've used Final Cut Pro, and I've also used CapCut. The next struggle was balancing school and YouTube, which is definitely the biggest struggle of all the struggles I'm mentioning here. Balancing school and YouTube was definitely easiest my freshman year of high school because the classes are easier. My videos were a bit more primitive at the time due to the editing being less complex and the physical technologies that I used to make these videos being less intricate. When it started getting really complicated and difficult was my junior year of high school. I started taking AP classes, I was touring colleges, I was thinking about the SAT and ACT, I was also doing volunteering. I was participating in more clubs, so there was significantly more I had to balance in my personal life. But overall, throughout the entire time that I was in high school, my channel grew very slow and steady. The creative process of envisioning what I wanted to make and then seeing it exist physically, it's really hard for me to describe in words how that felt, but the best adjective I could use is fulfilling. So I ended up graduating high school in May of 2017. I feel very fortunate that the entire time I was in high school, no one actually found my channel. If they did, they just didn't tell me, and in that case, it's a little bit awkward. Unfortunately for me, I think the trajectory of my YouTube channel really started to take a negative turn when I packed up and left for college. So this part of the story actually begins the summer before my freshman year of college, and this is a very important distinction because July of 2017 was the first vlog I ever made. A friend of mine and I were starting college in the same semester, so I vlogged us shopping for our first semester of college. I knew that when I went to college, I would have a very small wardrobe and, I wouldn't be able to bring a lot of clothes with me. So I wanted to get clothing that was very versatile. And I loved making that vlog. You got to see very candid interactions between me and my friend at the time. I also felt a little bit embarrassed posting this video because I had very little money. Most of the video is my friend and I shopping the clearance racks and also H&M and other stores where I could get clothing very inexpensively. That is what I like to see. We're at the clearance because we're broke. But I did it anyway, and it was actually one of my best performing videos at the time. Something I strongly regret is not posting more personal content at this point in my life. I was used to taking a more formal approach to my videos, and because I didn't think people would want to see this type of personal content from me, it took me a very long time to make more personal videos like this. And I think that might be one of my biggest regrets in this entire journey. In terms of college was a ride. My college experience can be and is its entire own series of videos because I felt like I had put so much energy into the SAT and ACT, stressing over grades, AP classes. I felt very burned out before I even started college. In terms of my mental health, I think it would have been much smarter to take a gap semester because I was so tired. I started college as a biology major. I knew going into it that it was going to be a very time-intensive degree. The only real pro for me was that I could completely manage my own schedule. I grew up in a very small suburban area. If I ever wanted to go anywhere or do anything, I had to have my parents drive me in their car because I didn't own one, or I had to have someone pick me up. The college I went to was in a very car-centric area. There was no form of public transportation, and there wasn't really anything within walking distance. So my first semester of college, I lived in a dorm. The pro of this dorm was I didn't have a roommate. The con of this dorm is that I lived in the basement, so there was no natural lighting. The thing about natural lighting and sunlight is you don't realize how much it personally affects you until you have, 2 weeks of rainy weather, or until you don't see the sun in your bedroom. The room was made of cinder block, and it had this very intense, prison cell sort of lighting. It was also a very small dorm, so it truly did feel like I was living in a prison cell. It wasn't heated well during the winter, and during the summer, the air conditioning was just blasted so heavily that it was very cold. So the first couple of months, I was trying to figure out a way that I could balance school and YouTube. In my mind, I had a much stricter, far less flexible idea of what a YouTube video is. I didn't have the resources or time to make it now, so I felt completely lost in terms of what approach to take toward this. I had been thoroughly warned at this point that a lot of people mess up their freshman year. I was not about to make that mistake. I took a very prudent approach my freshman year of college. I got great grades that semester. The con is that I had absolutely no social life and I was miserable. The couple of friends that I did make all lived in a dorm together, and I lived in a different dorm, and I think they lived pretty close together in terms of the actual locations of the dorm. So if you compound these interactions that they're having over many, many days and months, there's a lot of things that I'm just missing out on, and I just felt like I was left out. I couldn't go anywhere or do anything due to the lack of transportation, and I was very unhappy. To be honest with you, I try not to think about it too much because this was a really difficult time in my life. I felt school hindered me from creating videos and having this creative outlet that I was so used to having. Another problem I had at this time was I had absolutely crippling anxiety. And I've had anxiety my entire life, but up until this point, the anxiety was relatively dormant. It manifested in a couple of different ways, but it was not severe at all, and it was something that was very much manageable. Because I was so focused on doing well in college, I struggled with academic anxiety very severely. It was extremely difficult, and I wish I could tell you that it got better after that. And so I kind of ghosted my social media platforms at this point, not because I wanted to, but because I felt like there was nothing valuable for me to share and no one would care. What's the saying? Hindsight is 20/20. So obviously I know now that someone would have been interested, but back then I didn't see it that way. Wasn't able to figure out how to balance it. Felt really unhappy that I was not being able to create content that I loved making, and creating content was my biggest passion in life. Creating content was the only thing that I ever felt so strongly about, where that's what I wanted to do, and I could envision myself doing it forever in some capacity. I didn't mean to start crying. For a variety of different reasons, at the end of December 2017, I ended up transferring colleges. Almost all of the reasons I had for transferring colleges was entirely related to the college itself and not like a personal thing. The biggest reason being I was a biology major and they weren't able to enroll me in a biology class my first or second semester. I could envision the future and realize, yeah, it might be a long time before I graduate. I actually spoke to another one of my classmates. She was a sophomore at that time, and she said that a lot of her friends had transferred their freshman year. TLDW, first semester of college, not great. I was not able to balance school and YouTube, and that made me very unhappy. But my luck would change after I transferred colleges a few years into my college experience. So before I actually continued college in spring of 2018, I had to make a really difficult decision. So the issue was that I didn't know I wanted to change colleges in December of 2017. The issues didn't become apparent to me all at once. It was more of a slow aggregation of problems over time, and eventually in December of 2017 there was the last straw, which was me not being able to enroll in the classes I need to graduate from my major. So by the time December 2017 rolls around, it's just way too late to apply to another 4-year school. So I really had only two options at this point, which were one, take a gap semester, apply to colleges starting in January or December, and then start those classes in the fall of 2018. The second was enrolling at my local community college for spring of 2018, and then while I'm at that college, applying to a 4-year school for the following semester. So that's what I decided to do. Being able to not live in a dorm that was like a prison cell was definitely very beneficial to me. I have absolutely no regrets about this. I think this particular semester was actually the most positive experience I had overall in college. I loved all of my professors. They were all extremely supportive. Although I was less stressed at this college, I was still very unhappy overall. None of the people I knew from high school were going to this college, so I really didn't know anyone there. I knew since I would only be at this college briefly, I just didn't bother to try to make friends. You know, looking back on it, I probably would have made more of an effort to make friends. So at this time, I once again had the resources and tools to make the YouTube videos that I really wanted to make while I was at my previous college. But the problem this time was that mentally, I don't think that I was in the headspace to do it. Since I was so focused on academics, I stopped focusing on a lot of the things I loved, as I discussed in previous parts of this video. This would continue for many years, and I felt like I kind of lost a little piece of myself. I think overall, my time in college was the time when I felt least like myself by far. It's hard to remember exactly when they started, but I started to have multiple panic attacks a week regarding school. I've told this to very few people. I think a lot of people are going to be kind of shocked when they see this video, if they do. A few months into spring of 2018, my life did take a significant turn for the better. In one area of my life. It was the end of May. I started dating my current boyfriend. I found out at this time that both my boyfriend and I would be transferring to the same university after this community college. And throughout the entire summer of 2018, we went on dates basically every other day. As it happened, the days where he didn't work and the days where I didn't have classes overlapped. So on those days, we would go on dates. So after we ended up transferring to the same university, the subsequent years were hard, but I think having him made it significantly easier. In the semester of fall 2019, we decided to start living together. We rented one large room together in a house. The rent in the area that I was living at for college was a little bit pricey just due to the location, so we were both able to save a lot of money by sharing this room together. This is a medicine cabinet, so there's some room in here for cleaning stuff. I still need to bring some stuff in here, but there's a tub. So we were living together in this one little room. It was close enough to campus that we could walk to campus. It was a very standard college experience until the spring of 2020. This would have been the spring of my junior year of college. At this time, I was still a biology major. I originally committed as a biology major because I thought I wanted to go into a healthcare field. I had spent all of 2018 volunteering at my local hospital. I was also shadowing various different medical professionals at this hospital. And at this point, I realized, due to a variety of different reasons, that I didn't want to pursue a healthcare profession. At this point, I had been considering switching majors. The thing about this is, at this point, like I said, I'm already a junior in college. And at this point, I actually thought that I was going to graduate a little bit early because I had the AP classes and some community college credits from high school under my belt, but I did it anyway. So in January of 2020, I started taking computer science classes, and computer science is the degree that I would end up graduating with a few years later, but we'll get into that. I didn't know how I would feel about it, so I was also taking biology classes at the same time, just in case I decided I didn't want to keep going with it. This was also the same year that I decided I'm going to start... Okay. They didn't like that. Completely off topic, sometimes I imagine if I were a professor, I think I'd constantly be drinking water because my mouth gets so dry when I film these videos. In January of 2020, I decided I really want to start posting on YouTube again. Between fall of 2017 and January of 2020, I had posted a few YouTube videos, but they were very much sporadic and infrequent. I was so tired of not having this creative outlet. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I decided this is the semester that I'm going to start posting videos again. Between 2017 and 2020, YouTube changed a lot. Like, very much sensational videos started to become a lot more popular around this time, and so the YouTube that I had been familiar with was not the same YouTube that it was in 2020. Not posting for a couple years was extremely detrimental to the channel itself. I was trying to figure out how I was going to navigate this at this time. So at this time, I decided this is when I'm going to start making vlogs. I had wanted to make vlogs for years at this point, and I felt like this is my opportunity. I can finally make vlogs. So in February of 2020, I recorded my first college vlog. This is when things noticeably started to get a little weird. In late February of 2020, I noticed my physical in-person classes started to become less densely populated. So when we were informed that school would be online for the rest of the year, my boyfriend and I quarantined in our college house. All of my roommates left. I feel extremely blessed that neither myself nor anyone that I knew suffered health consequences due to the situation at that time. I actually remember the vlog I had recorded in February. When I posted it, I think I labeled it as parenthesis before quarantine to clarify what's going on in this video. Through the end of the spring 2020 semester, I really focused my YouTube channel on posting vlogs. The negatives about this semester were two things. One, I was dealing with really severe insomnia at this time. Earlier this semester, before quarantine had started, one of my roommates would come home at like 4 o'clock in the morning and she'd be like, "Why are you awake?" You know, I had blackout curtains in this room, but despite that, as soon as the sun would peek through the windows, even the slightest bit, I was up. So I was severely sleep deprived. It's so draining. It's extremely hard to concentrate. You start having memory issues. I remember taking sleep aids. I tried melatonin. I would still wake up in the middle of the night. I could feel that the sleep aids were kicking in, like my body felt very drowsy, but my brain wouldn't shut down. And I'm not exaggerating when I say this, it felt torturous. I was also still having panic attacks at this time. Again, this had nothing to do with quarantine itself. I was having panic attacks earlier. If anything, quarantine actually, I think, slightly mitigated my insomnia and panic attacks, but not by much. When the spring semester of 2020 ended, my boyfriend and I lived in my room at my parents' house through the end of 2020 and into 2021. He graduated a little bit before I did. He was always a year ahead of me in school. I dabbled in a lot of content at this time. I was trying to find my footing for what I wanted to post. My boyfriend also started making appearances in my content at this time. I might include a few clips in here.
Wake up activated.
Testing.
I I was still having panic attacks, but my insomnia had gotten a lot better, so it was much easier for me to learn. The thing that mostly bothered me at this time, probably like most people, is I felt very cooped up because I felt like I was having deja vu every day, you know, doing the same thing, waking up, same routine. I knew I was making progress in my life, in my career, but I felt very stagnant regardless. So something that I used to solve this problem at the time was I got back into fashion. I think at this time you start seeing little changes in my content. At this time I started posting a bit more fashion content. I just wanted to love fashion again. I stopped caring about it for a little bit just because I didn't have the mental capacity to care about it. I really wanted to find my own personal style. And between 2021 and 2023, that's what I did. In January of 2021, this is when I also decided to start a separate vlog channel. It's much easier algorithmically if your channel is more focused, so that's why I split the two. I really didn't post that much on there until this year. I had a huge posting spree on my first YouTube channel in 2020 and 2021 when I had a lot more time because school was online. The first big change that happened to my content occurred in the summer of 2021 when my boyfriend got a job in New York City. He officially moved to New York City in the summer of 2021, but the first time I started spending time in New York City was in April of 2021. This is when he started hunting for apartments. At this point, he knew he was going to be working in New York City. I also started posting more New York City related content at the time. Some of my favorite videos that I've made within the past couple of years were New York City related. So this period of my life continued on until 2022. In 2022, I underwent another big life change, both in terms of my YouTube channel and also my college life. Now that school is fully back in person, I felt like in terms of my YouTube content, I was back to square one of this problem where I felt like it was going to be really difficult, and it was, for me to make YouTube content while school was in person. Same struggles I had had between 2017 and 2020. But in 2022, this is when TikTok was a lot more popular. I personally don't find it as fulfilling, but it was enough for me, and it was far less stressful. In the spring of 2022, my sister ended up going to the same school that I was going to, and I was living with my sister off campus. This was also the point where I knew for the YouTube content that I was making, I wanted to shift it to fashion content. So in March of 2022, I made an announcement on my channel basically acknowledging the shift I was gonna make. 2022 was also the year where I really started wrapping up my degree. I was almost done. I was so close to the finish line at this point. Because computer science is such a popular major, they put a cap on how many computer science classes you can take in one semester. I was just ready to be done and move on with my life at this point, so I maxed out the amount of classes I could take. I only had in-person classes Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Between Thursday and Monday, I was visiting my boyfriend in New York. My college was within driving distance of New York City, so I could take public transportation from my school to New York City. It was definitely a little bit of a road trip, but I was able to do it relatively inexpensively. During those couple days during the week, I was doing my school stuff. Then on the weekend, I would go to New York City, and this is when I'd have a little bit more time to make content. A lot was happening. I was very busy at that time. Spring of 2023 was my last semester in school, and I think my most stressful semester academically. But in May of 2023, I graduated college. So this brings me to the end of the college chapter of my life and to where we are now. So this part of the story would bring us to present day, which is 10 months later. So as far as what's going on now in my life, I am now living full-time in New York City. And I know a lot of this video has been a bit pessimistic, but I'm happy to say that this period of my life is significantly better than it has been in the past. So with that being said, that brings up the most obvious question, which is what's next for my channel. In the videos to come in the next year, I do plan on posting both on my fashion channel and on my vlog channel, the channel you're watching right now. I do plan on prioritizing YouTube over the rest of my social media platforms. Due to TikTok videos being more limited in length, I feel like they have to be a lot more condensed. And because of that, I feel a lot more comfortable making YouTube videos, and I'm able to, I think, express myself more fully. In terms of my fashion channel, I think in the future I may broaden it back up to include more makeup in it, but I think for now, it is going to be more fashion-based. I will continue to focus it on personal style. I haven't posted a lot on there recently just because I've actually been putting a lot of focus into this video. At this point, I will have been working on this video for about a month. I really wanted to put a lot of effort into it, so I hope that you can tell that I have. That's what you can expect from my fashion channel. And as for my vlog channel, which you're watching, I think this video and my past 3 videos are a pretty good indicator of what you can expect from me in the future. I'm picking up a new style of video that I've never done anything like before, so this format of storytelling is a little bit different for me. What you can expect in the future is that it will be very much based in stories of my life and lessons I've learned throughout my life. I've also, over the past year or so, made the decision to private a lot of my old content, both on this channel and on my fashion channel. I think over the years, I've pivoted so much in my content that I just wanted to private anything that wasn't terribly relevant to what I plan to post in the future. That, and I also think of this as a fresh start for both of my channels and kind of like a coming full circle moment for both of them as well, especially since this channel is much more of a newer channel and one that I haven't posted on much at all. It really does feel like I've come full circle from the very beginning where I started my first channel. So although I can't promise that every video will be thrilling, I can promise that every video will be honest. So that being said, I hope you decide to follow with me on this sort of journey that I'm going on.
How do you turn this thing off?